bum bum bum, ba-dum bum bum, bum 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 bum, ba-dum bum bum bum, bum bum bum, ba-da-da-dum bum bum, ba-da-da-da-dum. Bum 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 ba-dum bum 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 ba-da-da-dum bum bum ba-da-da-da-dum da 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 ba-da-da-da-dum ba-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da bum ba-da-dum da 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 ba da 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 dum ba da 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 da. Hello, my friends. Hello, everyone. So good to see you. Hello from Kansas and rainy central Wisconsin and Missouri and West Michigan. Hello, everyone. Yeah, more Wisconsin and Sharon Springs, New York. Glad to be back. Yorktown, Virginia. So nice. Hello from very hot and stormy Florida. Oh, my goodness. And Ajax, Ontario. Hello, Rona. Nice to see everyone. Good evening. It's Monday night at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and there's one thing that we do every Monday at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and one thing only, and that is we go over homeopathy. I teach you what I know, I share with you, and I hope you share amongst yourselves, and I hope I inspire you to take on more homeopathy in your life so that you can treat yourself and your families, including your pets and livestock as well. And so my name is Joette Calabrese, for those of you who don't know me, but for those of you who do, welcome, my friends. My husband's dashing about. Thank you, honey. No, those are not them either. I must have 20 pairs of glasses, but we can't find the ones that I really want. These, they work. They're glary. They're just, my sight's not as great. They're all readers. I don't have prescription, but they're... And he's looking around for me, so thank you, honey. I'll do with these. This will work. They all pretty much look alike. So, so tonight, my friends, nice to be back. Some from Charleston, South Carolina. Oh, my husband and I were just in Charleston, South Carolina, a couple of weeks, so maybe a month ago. Such a lovely place. Very pretty. Nice to go there. And so, my friends, we are going to talk about lead and lead poisoning. And really what I want to teach you is how a homeopath thinks. How we go about determining whether we should use this medicine or that medicine. Now, sometimes it's as easy as can be. Sometimes, here comes another pair. No, two more pairs. There are two more pairs, or neither one of them. I'm going to show you. I mean, this is ridiculous. This is, I know it seems like overabundance. I mean, look at these glasses, because I got to have them all around the house, because look at this. Is this ridiculous or what? I think I'm going to try these. Let's see, because I find that these don't have as much glare. Okay, that works. Okay. Kind of absurd, isn't it? So what we're going to do is, let me step back. When we look at a simple condition, or when we look at a condition and it has a protocol associated with it, now what is a protocol? A protocol is not something that you, my friends, make up. It is something that has been shown clinically over and over and over and over, and it is the exact medicine with the exact potency and the exact frequency and specifically associated with an exact condition. And it comes from years of experience, clinical experience. So I know sometimes people say, I come up with my own protocols. No, that's not a protocol. You might come up with your own solution. You might come up with your own remedies. But that's not what a protocol is. It has history to it. It has a backing to it. So let me go back again and say that sometimes it's very easy to figure out exactly what the medicine is for this or for that. Let me give you an example. Let's say a child hits his head on a coffee table and he gets a little goose egg on his forehead. We're going to automatically use arnica. pretty much arnica across the board. Generally, it's going to be a 200. See, this does not happen to be a specific protocol, but it is something that we use all the time. So it's so well known in homeopathy that some might call it a protocol, but we're going to use 200C, and we're going to use it pretty frequently, maybe every 15 minutes for the first hour and then back off. Or if it's not so severe, then maybe once an hour. If it's even less severe than that, we're not so concerned about it, we might use it every couple of hours or so until the child is much better. How much better? We just want to see the child calming down. We want to see them not freaking out any longer. There's no longer great pain. The child is acting normally. He's back to his old shenanigans of climbing on the furniture again, and then you know, okay, good, that's done. We don't carry on and use the medicine again and again and again. It's done. So we can use another example. Someone has amoebic dysentery. We're going to use Veratrum album 200C mixed with Cuprum 6. We mix them together and we use them every 15 minutes. Same idea for extreme dysentery. That means that's extreme diarrhea, perhaps even vomiting too, but it's mostly diarrhea that is taken to quite a pathological level. And we're going to use that because we know that that is very specific for that condition. That medicine in that potency mixed with that medicine in that potency used in this frequency and then observed, then we know we are using a specific protocol. I don't have a specific protocol for lead poisoning, my friends. But I will tell you that if you go to my survivalist guide, I talk a lot about poisonings. And I also talk about it a great deal in my course titled Toxic. And so you can go to Joette's Learning Center, Joettes Learning Center, and scroll down and find those. But tonight, regardless of whether or not you go there, and you look at more specific information and what to do not only for lead poisoning, but pesticide poisoning and medication poisoning and poisoning, etc., etc. And that will give you a very in-depth, that survivalist guide, my survivalist guide will give you very in-depth information. So instead, tonight we're going to just be looking at lead, okay? And I'm going to show you how a homeopath thinks it through. This is Robin Murphy's repertory. It's the 4th edition. It's the meta repertory. It's what I use on a regular basis. It's what I teach in my classes, in my courses, in my academy. This is our reference book. And in the 4th edition, I'm on page 2317. If you have the 3rd edition or the 2nd or the 1st, it's going to be a different page. And it's in the clinical section, meaning it's specific to the condition. Okay, these are condition-specific remedies that we're going to be talking about to a certain degree, okay? And so what I'm looking at is, lead. I'm going to show you on page 2317. I'm going to hold it up so that you can see that right here where my index finger is, right there, is lead. Ailments from lead. That's what it's called. Ailments from lead. What's another way of saying that? We could say lead poisoning, because lead is a poison. So it's not just sort of a light touch of lead. Lead is poisonous enough that if there are ailments, then we have to consider it a poisoning of sorts. Isn't that right? Yes. Yes, indeedy. And the remedies that show up there, you would think if you were new to homeopathy, you would say to yourself, well, why not just use homeopathic lead, which is called plumbum. But we don't necessarily do that in homeopathy. Can we do that? Can we use the exact medicine made from that toxin? Because as you remember, my friends, homeopathy is often, not always, is often made from toxins. That's one of our best choices because it's so dilute and then succussed and diluted again and succussed. It's so diluted that the aspect of the toxicity is brought down and down with each of the dilutions, and what comes to the fore is the curative aspect. So if we were to use lead, homeopathic lead, for lead poisoning, plumbum, which is what because we don't use English words for our homeopathic medicines generally. There are a couple of them, but maybe more than a couple. There are a few of them, but most of them are Latin. We're going to use the Latin term plumbum metallicum. Then we're going to say that indeed it is we could use the exact one, then it is isopathy. Now, I prefer, if we can, to start with homeopathy. Means a similar pathology, not an exact pathology. Isopathy is the exact pathology. Now, I just have to see, Veronica says, Borky says arsenicum album is antidotal for lead. Could arsenicum album 3C assist the detox of lead? I'm so glad you brought that up because it is something I'm going to be talking about tonight. And so, but I also want to point out to you that in this, when we repertorize it, the remedies that show up in bold and caps are alum, aluminum, causticum, colocynthis, opium, plumbum, that's lead, and tuberculinum. The second level is, which are italicized and bold, are argentum nitricum, arsenicum album, belladonna, cadmium sulf, graphites, hypersulfuricum, kaliiodatum, nat sulf, platina, plumbum I, sulfuric acid, sulfur, see, these glasses are not so great, terebinthia, and veratrum and zinc. Now what do? We've got these medicines that are large print, are caps, and bold. And then we have this secondary level that are also bold, but they are italicized, and they're in a smaller print. What are we to do? This is how we look at it. We go through this. We start with those medicines that are the most noteworthy in the repertory, those medicines that are capitalized and bold. And we look at each one of them. We have alum, I said before, aluminum, colocynthis, causticum, 1, 2, 3, 4, and plumbum and opium. 5, 6. We have 6 remedies from which to choose. So the way we go about doing this is then we open up our materia medica and we look at each one of these. Now, I assume that before you've even started all this, you've got a case before you, right? You already have a case of, let's say, a child who has high lead levels. We already know that. So what are the symptoms? What brought the mother to that doctor to be tested, for that child to be tested? What was going on? What was happening to this child? What were the symptoms? Symptoms are representations of what's going on a deeper level. Symptoms are our gifts. They're scary sometimes, but they're extremely informative. And so we need to use, how is this particular person suffering from that high lead level? What is this person? How about if it's a different person? What if it's a little boy and a teenage older sister? What is she suffering? What is he suffering? Just because one is suffering from lead poisoning in this fashion doesn't mean that the older one, the teenage daughter, is suffering in the same fashion. She's completely different. She's a different sex, a different age, right? It's such a completely different world. So we have to now look at, we have written down all the symptoms that this little boy is suffering. And we categorize them. Let's say he has a sense of paralysis. He's not able to walk so well. So let's say it's in his limbs. We're going to put in the left margin limbs or legs, sense of paralysis or weakness. Perhaps it's not paralysis. Perhaps it's not frank paralysis. Perhaps it's simply a weakness in his legs. Then we want to know, is he sleeping all right? Is he eating all right? Does he have diarrhea? Does he have any symptoms that would be associated with lead? And how would we know what that is? Well, we would also look up online, what are the symptoms associated with lead poisoning? That's going to be very valuable to us as well. So this is how we're building a case. Then we look at these remedies in this repertory under ailments from lead. Look at the top remedies. Open up our Materia Medica and read each one of the top medicines. Those 6 medicines, we're going to read them and see if any of them match this little boy's sufferings. We haven't taken his older sister's case yet. We don't know that yet. We don't know what her sufferings are yet. We've not opened that case. We've not taken that information. We've not observed her. We're observing him. And we're also getting the report from his mother. Is he behind in school? Is he able to, he's, let's say 7. Is he able to understand what the directions are with his lessons? Is he able to ride a bike? Can he sleep? Is he anxious? We want to know all of those. Does he have gut issues? Yes. Okay. Well, good. I'm glad, Hannah, this might be of use to you. So when we say, when Veronica, yes, I think it's Veronica, says Boracay, Dr. Boracay says arsenicum album is antidotal for lead. Could arsenicum album 3C assist the detox of lead? If we were to choose arsenicum, it's not one of the 6, it's the second level. Arsenicum is the second level. If we were to choose that, what is it we can expect? Will it be detoxed? Will we see the lead levels go down? I have seen it happen. And I also have to tell you that what we see first, though, are some of the symptoms associated with lead poisoning minimized a little more, or minimized a little, and then a little more, and then a little more as we carry on with these medicines. So, if we look at aluminum, I'm going to open up my book and I'm going to show you that in aluminum, we might have symptoms such as, hold on, let me get this right. The person is low-spirited, for example. I'm telling you this because I'm picking this out of the Materia Medica. This does not mean that this is the justification for using this medicine. I would expect that someone would do much more reading than just that. There are abdominal complaints, and they're often left-sided. There's colic. And interesting, it's called often lead colic. What is lead colic? I want you to look that up. When you read something like that and you don't know what it is, don't say, oh, it must be. No. Look it up. See if you can find out what lead colic is. Painter's colic. There's back pain, sensations in the back. So what we're doing is we're looking in a Materia Medica now. This happens to be Robin Murphy's Materia Medica. And we're looking through, does this associate with anything that this little boy has? Doesn't seem to fit. Okay, let's go to the next medicine. Alum. Let's see. Or alumin. Sometimes alum, sometimes alumin, if you pronounce the whole word. There are induration of glands. What is induration? Hardness. The glands are hardened. Oh my gosh, this little boy has hardened glands. Let's consider that. Cancer, let's see, induration of glands, paralytic, weakness. He's got weakness in his legs. He can't ride a bike. He used to be able to pedal his bike, but he can no longer do that. So now we're thinking, could this be alumin? Could it be? And then we also have sense of constriction. And he might say, it feels tight. Don't expect, my friends, for your family or anyone whose case you're taking to give you the words that are written in these books. Feels tight is the same as a sense of constriction when it comes to a child describing it. If it were an adult and they said it feels tight, something feels tight, my muscles feel tight. You might say, yeah, constriction? Yes, that's it, they might say. Now we're going to go through all of the material, all of that remedy. We're going to read it inside and out. Why are we going to be so thorough? Why would we need to be as thorough as read each medicine, see if it fits? Not everything in the Materia Medica is going to fit. It's impossible. It can't be. When we see, if someone fit every symptom picture in each one of these medicines, they'd be dead. I mean, really, this is a consolidation. Each of these medicines are a consolidation of many people who have reported. Many people, thousands, tens of, maybe even hundreds of thousands, because we're talking about a consolidation of medicines over the past 230 years that have been organized and put together in a Materia Medica. So we're going to go to the first medicine. We're going to look at that. Then we're going to look at the second medicine. Does this child fit this? Is the preponderance of this case found more likely in this medicine or in that medicine? Now, I love that Veronica wrote that Boracay, Dr. Boracay, says arsenicum album is antidotal for lead. Why do I love that? In spite of the fact that here it is in the repertory. Here it is in the repertory under lead. We've got these medicines. Arsenicum album is in there. But when we read something like that from a master, Boracay was one of our great masters. I'm looking to see if I've got his book here. This is Fatak. Boracay's over here somewhere. I've got a lot of books here. And I do use Dr. Boracay's Materia Medica frequently. When we see something like that, then we prick up our ears and we say, even in spite of the fact that in this repertory we have so many medicines that could deal with the lead poisoning, ailments from lead, and we've got his opinion that is so strong like that, that's a pretty strong opinion, then I would also consider arsenicum album comes to the fore a little bit more fully. In spite of the fact that arsenicum album in the repertory is a second level medicine, not a primary level. Boracay says arsenicum album is antidotal for lead. Yes. So, Veronica's question is, could arsenicum album 3 assist the detox of lead? Back to the question of, we're using the symptoms. We should see the symptoms starting to abate slowly over a period of time. Sometimes it's only days, but often it's weeks, perhaps even a couple of months. And the only way we're going to know this, my friends, is if you write it down. You must write this down. Must. What I mean by what's written down? This little boy's symptoms. You must not only write them down, but you must assign a value to them. How difficult is it for him to ride his bike? Now, he's not going to be able to tell you that, but you're going to watch him. You're going to watch as he gets out of bed, and if he has weakness in his legs when he gets out of bed, or when he can't go up the stairs so well, and you assign a number to that. As the observer, you're going to assign a number and say, you know, it's only minimal. It's not a lot. So maybe it's a 3, but if it's pretty severe, I want you to, on a scale of 1 to 10, I want you to assign a number to it, because you're going to compare that number today to that condition in 2 months from now. That's your job. You must get what you've written today, and then on top of it, look down through a transparency of what's happening now, 2 months from now, in the middle of the summer. Look down through it and compare that transparency to what you wrote in June 3rd. And if you see a shift in that, you see a slight improvement. Doesn't have to be a grand improvement, my friends. When I've worked with children who have lead poisoning, what I see is over a period of time. And your expectations are key, absolutely key. Don't expect this medicine to work like that, like when you give that child a remedy for an ear infection and it's gone in 3 hours. I'm not going to tell you that it can't happen that way, but when we have a chronic condition, it can take a great deal, much longer time. It can take weeks, months, many months even sometimes. But just be prepared to watch and observe for those little shifts. So, back to Veronica's question. Boricke says arsenicum album is antidotal for lead. Could arsenicum album 3C assist the detox of lead? That's exactly what these medicines are intended to do, to detox. Because how else can the medicine act if it's not detoxing? Do you understand what I'm saying? Homeopathy doesn't cover up symptoms to still allow this lead problem to be still stewing in that child's body. No, the symptoms are representative of something that is awry. We have to correct what's awry by using the symptoms. We use what is presenting to determine what is the best medicine so that we can uproot the condition. Now, is that not the most gorgeous medicine you've ever heard of? Does that not make you think that this is bigger than any other medicine you might have tried? Because in conventional medicine, the headache is removed with the Tylenol, but we haven't gotten to the problem. We've just covered it up. So if the headache that the adult is having is as a result of lead poisoning and you take Tylenol, will it assist in the detox of the lead? Absolutely not, my friends. They've never said it would. They've never led you to believe that. You have to know that drugs do not uproot conditions. And if my estimation, more often than not, they carry it further. They carry it along to a deeper state. So, let's say we choose arsenicum album. Why? Because we've gone to the materia medica. We like what Boricke said, and we note that in the repertory it's a second line. It is bold but italicized, not as large as aluminum and alum and causticum and tuberculinum, etc. Not there, but it is there. And we choose arsenicum album. Why? Not just because Boricke said to use it, although that does hold some good weight, but because we see that the child has got symptoms that are associated with arsenicum album. How would we know that? We go to the arsenicum album in the materia medica and we read. Now, what happens when we read? And we see that, my gosh, my son is so anxious, and he's fidgety, and he's frightened, and he drinks little sips of water. I'm giving you the perfect example. Not all of this has to be present. It can be even partially present. But he's anxious. And sometimes when he's anxious, he's restless. And he gets up and he paces or he climbs, etc., etc. Now what do? That's a good fit in many ways. But don't jump on it just because you're so excited that this could be it. I still implore you to please go back and look at that lead section again and look at those remedies again and read them and go through them again and make sure that what you are choosing is on the mark. It fits the little boy. It fits him on so many levels. This could take you 3 days to come up with the answer, my friends, because it's not a protocol. When we have protocols, we can move a lot faster, obviously. But when we don't have a protocol and we have to think this through, we may need to read each one of these medicines after we've written the whole case down. And don't do this alone, my friends. Ask your husband for some input as well. Now, he may not know more than you because you're with the child all day, most likely. But then ask your mother. And what do you see? What do you observe? And write it all down. Yes, this is work. Is there anything more important than this? Nope. Nothing more important than this. Then what do you do with that? Let's say after all is said and done, after 3 days of really focusing on this and really studying it, and it really does seem correct, we want to use arsenicum album. I would use it in a low potency. I would use it in a 3C or a 6C, maybe once a day for several days and see what comes of it. See what comes of that and watch. I want you to be, your expectations have to be tempered. Don't expect things to go bam and it's done. Okay, let me just see what kind of questions we have. Okay. I discovered I was lead poisoned for the salt I used for 5 years. Wow. I stopped 6 weeks ago. Palpitations stopped. I was in this protocol for gastritis and perfect combination. My heart is doing much better. Very happy to hear that, Veronica. How do you open up detox pathways with homeopathy? I just described the whole pathway. I just described it to you. Don't try to use other paradigms and say, well, yeah, but in naturopathy, we have to do this first and we have to do that, and homeopathy won't work until we use this, and we got to cleanse, and this is the cleanse. This is the method. This is what homeopathy does, okay? Is it okay to take a remedy first thing in the morning before even getting out of bed? Yes. Yes, absolutely. With overnight bacteria, my friend, we need overnight bacteria that belongs in the mouth. Anemia is one common effect of lead exposure. It can result in fatigue and weakness and breathlessness and pallor. So the remedy you chose would address those signs and symptoms. Not that necessarily that particular medicine. Is arsenicum album specific for anemia? It's not my first remedy that I think of, but there are other medicines in here. Once you read through them and you find one that is specific for anemia, then you've got your picture. But only if the person, the case in which you're taking, that person has anemia. Not that lead causes anemia and it could be the reason for fatigue. No, either it is anemia or it is not. Yes, my friends. Yes. Is homeopathy safe during pregnancy? I keep seeing conflicting information. I use it for all of my pregnancies. And homeopathy is often used during pregnancy. And I've also have worked with, I don't know, maybe 50 women with pregnancies. I've always used homeopathy. Redmond salt and any pink salt that has trace minerals. Be very careful, as this salt are full of heavy metals, all of them. Interesting. I do not know that. Redmond salt and any pink salt that has trace minerals. Goodness sakes, very interesting. Replying to Veronica, oh no, I've been using for many years. Replying to good conversation here. My husband has lead poisoning, terrible brain fog, and balance issues. Well, I won't give you a recommendation, but I will tell you that that's what you're going to be looking for in these top medicines. And also, you might want to check out my toxic course. And low potency doesn't make any difference when you give a higher potency or move it to a different remedy. How long would you wait? I would not wait. I would just start with a low potency and stay there. I don't climb the scale of potencies generally. It's very rare that I ever do that. I usually start low and I stay low. I don't generally do that. Conventional French hospitals give pregnant women caulifilum 3 weeks before delivery to tone the uterus. The Banerjees have suggested using, well, if you go to my feminopathy course, you will see that there's a lot of information about birthing and about pregnancy. I don't know how I would get half the women that I work with through pregnancy without homeopathy. I think we've averted all kinds of problems, including the length of time that it takes for women to give birth. Okay, my friends. For those of you who know, I'm putting together a Joette Calabrese Mighties Plus. So if you happen to be one of my Joette's Mighty members, you might want to look at the emails we're sending out. And for those of you who have not seen anything like that, go to joettecalabrese.com/Mighties-Plus. We're rolling out a new program the last couple days. It's going to be very interesting. I'm going to give a lot of information. Great. Carrie says she's already a Mighty Members Plus. Love it already. What course was it for pregnancy and birth? It's called Feminopathy. Simply go to Joette's Learning Center and scroll down and you'll see it's pretty clear. Feminopathy is where you're going to learn about how to use homeopathy during pregnancy. It's really not that much different. There are a couple things that we caution, but we can pretty much stay true to using the medicines. They can even be life-saving. All right, my friends. It's wonderful to see you. Oh my gosh, we're hearing, hi Alice, we're hearing stories about some testimonies. I love it. I love when people tell us how good these medicines have been in their lives. I'm going to say good night. We'll see you next Monday. God bless you all. Mwah. See you then. Bye now.
With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. My family needs a me, so I must know our remedies. How much to take, how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With our homeopathic protocols, you learn your remedies. Athusa, no dairy, it's elementary. With arnica head, arsenica fed, spigelia slither, orms from wither, no more. My family needs a me, so I improve my memory. Not only the rems, but how often to treat, and when to stop, and when to repeat. With your homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies. Bella so red and arnica head, drosera bark, ignatia dark, source of frigid and cuprum to rigid, and crude itches, calicum, barnicum, let it melt on your gumbo, vista weed are some great ways to treat yellow. La 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 la, homeopathic protocols, learn your remedies.